So late last summer, I shocked a lot of people, including myself, when I took delivery of a 2018 Tesla Model 3 Performance. Now, I was one of the first people to put a deposit down a little over 2 years ago, so I was pretty happy when I finally took delivery of this vehicle in late August. Now, over the last 4 months and nearly 6,000 miles of ownership, the car has been far from perfect. If you guys have followed us on social media, you'll see that it has spent quite a bit of its life at the Tesla service center for various issues. So in today's Redline update video of the car, I'm going to go over kind of what the issues were when I first took delivery of the car, what the service center did to fix the car, as well as all the time that it's spent at the service center. I know if you guys have been following me on social media, you've seen the progress of this car. But at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about my ownership experience over the last 4 months and see if I actually still really like the car or if I think it was a total mistake. So as most of you guys probably know, Tesla is not exactly known for their stellar build quality. I mean, this is a company that's only been building cars since 2012, at least mass producing them. So they've really come a long way, but there are definitely a lot of issues that I noticed about the Model 3 when I first took delivery of them. So let's go over in brief detail what those issues were. Now, the first thing I definitely noticed on this car was the paint quality. Usually when you have a car painted at the factory, you're supposed to have it in like a sterile, clean room. But if you look closely on some of the parts underneath the clear coat, there was like a little bit of contamination because I found dust particles underneath the clear coat. There was a lot of orange peel all over the paint, so it didn't really look all that great, especially when you kind of had the car washed and had it, under the light. So that was kind of an issue that sort of bugged me. It probably is going to be bugging a lot of other people more than myself. I've kind of learned to let things go because, again, Tesla is not known for their stellar build quality. There are a couple of issues that I noticed here, for example, on the rear door, where there's like a little bit of a bump out here for the paint. This is, again, cross-contamination or something like that. If you guys know what this issue is caused by, please let me know in the comments below. But this is kind of found in certain parts around areas of the car. Not really a huge deal, but kind of a deal breaker for some of you, especially if that's kind of a big, important issue of importance. Now, one area that I did have the Tesla store fix was on the roof panel here on the glass. There was actually kind of a jagged cut area here on the glass where it looked like somebody was drunk or something when they cut the glass at the factory. Again, they were building the car in a tent, so I had the Tesla store replace the glass, and I also had them fix a key mark scratch that was on the rear quarter panel on the driver's side. So that was kind of the first thing that the Tesla store had to fix. Unfortunately, after they fixed the key mark scratch and they replaced the glass, the Tesla shop, or the body shop that did the work, actually damaged the paint. When I got the car back after about a week, which, by the way, the Tesla store did give me a loaner car. It was a brand new Model S, so I couldn't really complain there. After about a week, I noticed there was kind of like a sandpaper scratch mark on the rear trunk lid, on this area, and then it was really bad when you looked at the rocker panel here on the driver's side. So I had to basically bring the car back to the service center. They had to send it back to the body shop, and anytime it was at the body shop, it basically spent another week or so. Now, this body shop was a third-party body shop because Tesla stores don't handle body work in general. If you guys have ever owned a Tesla and had it gotten into an accident, you'll probably know the struggles of having to deal with a body shop because that's kind of out of Tesla's control. So really, that was an issue that I was annoyed about, but it was something that I couldn't really blame Tesla too much for because it was kind of out of their control with it having a third party doing the work. So aside from the paint having a less than stellar finish and the body shop messing up, but then fixing the problem, that took roughly about a month to complete because of having to send it back to the body shop, waiting for them to do the work and whatnot. Another couple of things I've also noticed with the outside, some of the body panels don't fit together properly. For example, the driver's door doesn't really line up properly over here with the chrome trim on the rear door. So again, little issues here and there. I don't want to, fault Tesla too much for it, but it is a little inexcusable considering the price of this car. So again, you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to build quality with Tesla, because a lot of things about the car in general will really impress you, which we'll go into those features later on. Now, after they took care of the work in terms of the quality issues, which honestly they were pretty fast at doing it, the car was really good. That was actually when I took the car on that journey across half of the U.S. where I went to Oklahoma, and I put about 3,000 miles on the car. That's the reason why the car has almost 6,000 miles on it. Now, unfortunately, after I came back from Oklahoma, it started to get cold here in the DC area, so I had to put on these winter tires. As you can see, I purchased these winter tires in late October. I bought them from Tire Rack. They are basically ASA, like a 19-inch wheel that are wrapped in all-season Goodyear tires. Now the wheels themselves were actually a pretty good deal. I bought all 4 of the wheels for about $1,500, wheels and tires included, and that was with them already mounted and balanced onto the actual rim. Now if you guys remember from the Instagram account, I actually did put the wheels on and then had an issue with the wheel weights, because remember, this car comes with factory 20-inch wheels, which are an upgrade from the 18s, but then Tesla later made it standard. And the 19s before, nobody knew if they would actually fit, and I actually had to bring the car back to a service center and they had to realign the wheel weights. No, I know it's been quite some time since I've actually shown you guys an update video on the 2018 Tesla Model 3, which I will be doing in this upcoming video right now. However, you all will also get a chance to see me put my winter wheel and tires on this car, because as you know, the performance model comes with summer tires on the 20-inch wheels, and it is now fall. It is now the middle of October, so it's starting to get cold. So my favorite feature of this car definitely has to be the summon feature. Now to activate the summon feature, you basically just have to go into your Tesla app, wait for the app to actually load up. It'll show you basically a status of the car. You can see the car has over 4,400 miles on it, because I did take this on a long trip all the way to Oklahoma City and back, which has put about almost 3,000 miles on it, which I'll show you guys a separate video on that, or I may even combine it with this one. I haven't decided yet. But to activate the summon, just basically go there. It'll try to connect to your vehicle. And as you can see, sometimes the summon feature doesn't work. Tesla likes to remind everybody that it's in beta. And this is probably the most frustrating part. Every time I want to actually show somebody the summon feature, it never works, but that's kind of how technology is, right? Okay, so once it finally comes up, all you have to do is just stand by the car. Now keep in mind, you have to be standing by the car because there's a sensor in your phone that recognizes that you're standing by it, but just push and hold this little forward button. You have to keep holding it too. And then the car will start to move forward on you. When it does finally work, this is definitely still the coolest thing about this car, is the summon feature. And once you're ready to stop making it move forward, just let go of the button, or the little forward button, and it'll stop. So as you guys can see, I still have the summer tires that this car came with. These are the factory 20-inch wheels on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. They are really, really good tires in the dry and in the warm weather. Unfortunately, we finally had like a frost advisory last night, and there was some frost on the actual cars that were parked outside. So these are not really good when the temperature dips below 45 degrees, which is why I'll be putting a set of winter, in quotes, wheels and tires, which let me show you guys right now. Anyways, these actually just arrived yesterday from Tire Rack. I got basically a set of 4. These are ACA or ASA GT14s. They're a machine finish with like a black inner lip. Basically, my favorite style of wheel, and this trend is kind of very in right now. And I decided to go with a Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric all-season tire, because here in DC in the wintertime, we really don't go below 30 degrees very often, and our snowfalls are very low. So I just needed a good all-season tire. I could probably leave this on year-round. It's actually a 19-inch wheel in 235/40 series tires. So these will be a little bit quieter. It won't grip as well as the summer tires, obviously, but this is something that I can kind of just run year-round. An actual snow tire just didn't really make sense here in this area because we don't really get that much snow. Okay, so as you can see, I have removed all the covering and crap all over the wheels. They were pretty much shipped to me completely done, which is really nice. Inflated with air, ready to install. It's already been balanced. I just have to basically mount it, which thankfully I've got an air compressor, a floor jack, and an impact gum to do all that. So it should be a relatively quick process. So the wheels on my car actually have these little center lug nut covers on them. You can't actually see the lug nuts because they're actually just covered by this piece of plastic. Tesla gives you a little tool that you get in the glove box, which you can buy, I guess, if you ever lose one of these, where you basically have to stick this little thing inside this hole at the bottom here and then kind of twist it, and then just kind of, they said just yank this out once you get it in the middle. And there you go, it just pops right out. It literally looks like a starfish. And this cover is what covers up the lug nuts. So I'm gonna remove the rest of the 3, I guess, off the wheels. So the thought of jacking up your car can definitely be a frightening thought. However, Tesla actually made it pretty simple. I did have to go into the owner's manual, which is in the screen, to show where the actual jacking points are. Apparently there are only 4 points, each like at the front and at the back of the car on each side. Tesla says that you're supposed to use like a little or like adapter, or at least if you go to a Tesla service center, they probably have an adapter that goes into this little hole. But since I just have a floor jack, you kind of just have a very small wiggle room of space, because remember, the batteries are in the floor, so you don't want to nick those or nick the body panel, because it'll probably fall off or you'll damage something. So to find the actual jacking point, you kind of have to go really low under the car here, and literally you have to get on the floor because this is a low car. And the point's actually right here, and you'll know it's there because there's a little bit of a hole where you could probably put an adapter in there. But for the most part, my floor jack here has a nice flat surface. It's covered in rubber, so you kind of just have to slowly maneuver it here and then just start to raise it up to where it sits right in the middle of that hole with the jacking point. All right, once you found that point, then you can jack the car up. I know, I like to do it very slowly. And then I like to check really quick to see that it's not touching anything, and it looks like it's good. Seriously, it's
really close.
That actually looks like it's rubbing it.
Let me see. I see clearance there. Yeah, that is.
That is rubbing it.
Why would it be doing it there? But maybe once all the screws are tightened down, it'll be.
Maybe it'll go in a little more. Yeah. Well, let's put the wheel on. Let's see if.
Yeah, the last thing you want is the fucking red paint to get scraped off the caliper.
I know. No, I'm not going to drive it. I'm just going to see how it feels because remember when you put the wheels on and then when you put the lug nuts on and then you tighten it, it'll settle the wheel on a little bit.
Yeah, that side's already settled though, and it looks fucking close. I don't know.
Like seriously, this is tire rack's fault if it's fucking not big enough.
Oh, sorry, it's a newer car, so we didn't really know.
I just can't believe how big these brakes are. That clearance really is like.
Let's put it down, and all we can do is very slowly see, I guess.
Seriously, that is so close. So once you guys are finally done getting all the wheels on, you want to lower the car and then you want to use a torque wrench to actually make sure the lug nuts are torqued tight enough. I have it set to around 98 pound-feet. So I'm going to go ahead and torque all four of the wheels and then we can try going off for a drive. Wonderful. So normally this is the part where I get really excited to drive the car with the new wheels and tires on it. Unfortunately, Tire Rack has made a huge mistake because the wheels they sent me, they're supposed to clear the performance brakes on my Tesla, but it doesn't. Let me show you guys what I mean. Now I haven't driven the car, I've only moved it an inch forward and back, and you can clearly see right here, the caliper is scraping along the wheel weight that's on the inside of this wheel, and it took off a little bit of the paint, and I literally just moved it about an inch forward and back. So Looks like I'm gonna have to take off these wheels and give Tire Rack a call, because clearly these 19-inch wheels do not clear the performance brakes. And honestly, it's close, it's just that wheel weight where it's positioned is not allowing the caliper to squeeze by. So they had to reposition the wheel weights, but then it's a tight fit, but now it actually fits. So those of you who are wondering, you can put 19-inch wheels on a Model 3 with the Performance, because remember, the Performance model has larger brakes, which are almost 15 inches in diameter at the front. So that's the reason why you have to actually go with a bigger wheel and tire with this car. 18s, my guess would be that they won't fit, but if you guys actually have this car and you have 18s on the car, let me know in the comments below if they actually do fit, because who knows, they might. Now, since this car has actually been purchased and not a lease like the long-term Porsche Cayman, I actually did add a couple of things to the car to kind of make it a little bit more personalized, because I do anticipate Redline keeping the car for a little longer than 3 years. Now, the first thing I added to the front was actually a clear bra on the front. It basically covers the entire front end of the vehicle, the bumper, the headlights, the hood, the front fenders, and the mirror caps. And this clear bra was not cheap, but I do like the fact that it basically wraps the entire front end, and they did a relatively good job with installing it. I mean, if you look very closely, you can see some areas where there was a little bit of an air gap where there was like dust that got underneath the wrap itself, and there's a little bit of edges here where it's not completely flush. But again, I kind of had to set my expectations a little bit lower for that, because clear bras have really come a long way from those leather masks that they used to put on cars in the early 90s and whatnot. So the car itself, if you look at it from far, you can't really tell it has a wrap, but it does a really good job with actually protecting it if you guys plan to take it on long road trips, which is exactly the reason why I did that. Now, if you're also looking, the windows have been tinted. I put a 30% tint on all 4 of the windows, including the back windows. I think it actually looks really good. The white interior obviously kind of lightens up the cabin a lot, but with the back, you know, having the darker tint and the roof being tinted, it definitely gives it a much cleaner look. Now, if you guys also remember, I was complaining about the fact that Tesla doesn't have 2 items available for this car when I first took the delivery of it. This is a performance version. It's supposed to have a dual motor badge, which mine finally has. They actually installed the badge yesterday after 4 months. So I'm really happy to see that the badge is here. Some of you have told me you don't like the way the badge looks. I think it actually looks pretty clean. The red underscore is what signifies this is a performance model. The regular dual motors or the non-performance models won't have that little underline. Still missing the carbon fiber rear lip spoiler, which is again part of the performance upgrade package, which for $5,000, I think Tesla should have just automatically put it on from the factory. I don't know why they had to wait, you know, another few months or so, which it's still not even available. I asked the Tesla store when it's going to be available, and they just told me it was supposed to be for January of this year, and now the ETA has been kind of pushed back and they don't have an actual ETA just yet. Now, in regards to the interior, after 6,000 miles and nearly 4 months of ownership, a lot of you have asked me, so the white interior, does it actually transfer jean colors to the actual seats? Now, I'm wearing pretty dark colored blue jeans, so I'll let you guys first take a look at the seats. As you can see, they still look very white. Now, I will say that they are stain resistant, and these are kind of like a leatherette. It's a vegan material. It's not actually made from animal hide. Now, I know some of you might probably cringe when I do this and rub my blue jeans all over the seats, but again, the jeans don't transfer any color even after almost, 6 months of ownership. So pretty pleased with that. I essentially just use a leather cleaner about every month or so and just kind of wipe away any smudges, which they wipe away just fine. Even the door panels here, you can see, don't have any, visible signs of wear in terms of smudges. The leather itself still looks really new, honestly, aside from just some dust. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with the actual durability of this cabin. So in regards to the rest of the interior, as you can see, I haven't really made any changes. The big change I made to the interior in general is I added this wireless charging pad here that essentially replaced the stock unit that had a little wire coming out here. And basically it just works by plugging into the factory USB ports, and then you just kind of put your phone on this and it becomes a wireless charging pad. For $150, this is something that the car honestly should have come with from the factory. The rest of it in general, as you can see, the interface here has been updated because of the Tesla update. When I bought the car, for example, it didn't have navigate on autopilot. It had a slightly different layout. It didn't also have like some of the features that you're seeing here where you can look at your energy consumption, you can look at your calendar where it syncs up to your phone. So this is again all part of the Tesla update system that kind of makes the car feel new, even though, you know, I've had the car for the last 4 months. Have I gotten used to the way it kind of looks in this interior? Absolutely. I mean, you kind of have to glance over to the right where you can see your speed and all your information. It's grouped over here. Navigation is here. Some of you have basically stated your dislike for the interior design in general. I actually find the interior to be quite pleasing because it allows for excellent forward visibility. The dash, as you can see, is very low, so you can see over the hood. It kind of reminds me of a 90s car because of the low dash, and then the A-pillars here, although they are a little bit on the fatter side, visibility in this car is just kind of all around excellent. I really appreciate the backup camera, the autopilot. There's a lot of features in this car that just really make me, you know, understand why people are so crazy about Tesla. Even though it's not the most luxurious environment, it's a very functional environment with comfortable seats, and it has great tech. This 15-inch screen, at first I thought it would be hugely distracting, but I actually think it is necessary for the car. And Tesla, there's a reason why Tesla made everything else very minimalistic, because they want you to focus on the screen, which has a lot of information that you can kind of view at a glance. The one thing I also really think is cool is the way the air conditioning system works. This is different, of course, when they updated it. Instead of like traditional vents, you basically can just control the airflow, you know, with your fingertips here, and it shows a representation of where the air is going. This to me is just kind of, you know, futuristic stuff. A lot of other brands simply don't offer something like this, and it's again what kind of helps to set Tesla apart from the competition. So even though I talked about so many flaws with the Model 3, I will say that driving the car, anytime I put my foot down, it constantly reminds me why I think this car feels like the future. The acceleration, I mean, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds is just insane. I love pulling up next to a stoplight, or at a stoplight next to somebody in their Corvette, their Porsche, their sports car, their supercar, whatever, and just smoking them in the Model 3. Now, that being said, this car has been far from perfect, as I said multiple times earlier. And after I had finally gotten the wheels, you know, the wheels rebalanced so it actually fit, the car itself had to go back to the shop for multiple issues. The biggest issue being it actually was involved in a small accident back in November. This is actually when I was in LA, or I was in California for the Subaru Crosstrek media drive. One of the Redline staff basically was driving the car in the wintertime, or it had snowed and there was black ice. They veered off the road on an exit ramp and actually went into the grass, a ditch basically, the grass. Thankfully, that person was not injured or hurt, and the car itself actually didn't have any damage. The car surprisingly missed everything in terms of the bodywork, and the only thing that really happened was the driver's side of the vehicle, both tires slammed into a curb, and they probably weren't going very fast. Again, I wasn't there, which is why I don't have any footage of the accident or pictures or whatnot. Couple of small things here and there in terms of like video footage. I wasn't there to actually look at the car, but that damage essentially put the car back into the shop because we had to replace the control arms, or the driver's side rear control arm, because that got bent. When you replace the control arm, you also had to do an alignment because it's suspension work. Both the aftermarket wheels, basically, they were damaged. The two ones on the driver's side were bent, so they had to be replaced. And also, the wheel bearings were bad on both sides, which the wheel bearings actually was discovered later, because as you guys know, with an accident, they replace parts here and there, and then they have to test the car and see if they're damaged, see if everything else is good. And unfortunately, the rumbling that you guys heard in the year-end video, my best of the year video, all that rumbling that you heard was actually because of the wheel bearings that were bad on both the front and rear of the driver's side of the vehicle. So that has been fixed now, which again required the car to go back to the shop and go back to the shop. But again, I can't really blame Tesla for that. That's just out of my control with it being an accident. But thankfully, I will say that the cost of the repair, because I didn't even go through insurance with this because it was a smaller claim and the deductible and whatnot. The new control arm and the alignment cost about $400 in parts and labor. The new wheel bearings on both sides was like another $420 in parts and labor, and then new rims, which again were like another $500 for both. I mean, we spent about $2,000 in parts and labor after the accident, but surprisingly, I was surprised to see how inexpensive the actual cost of parts and labor was for the repairs. I mean, typically you guys would think with Teslas, parts and labor would be expensive, but I was pleasantly surprised with how affordable it actually was if you guys have to do some work out of pocket. Now again, I'm talking about stuff like suspension work, and parts for the suspension that had to be replaced and the alignment. I have no idea what's going to cost to actually have to replace like this screen if something fails over there, or if, like, for example, like a power window regulator stops working, something like that. I have no idea the cost, but I will say that Tesla's service center is really good at getting repairs done in a quick manner, or at least getting you in to actually being communicative with the repair status, and they text you is really nice. What really sucks about the service center is they're kind of overwhelmed with people right now because of all the people that have taken delivery of Teslas. So you're kind of stuck having to wait for like a week when you try to schedule an appointment, unless you have an absolute emergency, well, not where you can have the car towed there. Whereas this car actually didn't have to be towed. It was actually drivable. We drove it a very short distance again to take it to the Tesla service center after the accident. Again, I was not there to see the whole thing, but it's just been kind of a whole long process, and it just sucks that the car had to get into an accident, but that's what happens when you are dealing with black ice. But other than that, the car has been really, really living up to my expectations in terms of the performance, in terms of the reliability. I can't really comment too much because, I mean, the car had build quality issues, when I first took delivery of it, which they addressed, had a couple of hiccups there. And then the accident, which really messed up a lot of things, the wheels not fitting properly. That's kind of something that I did to myself when I bought these wheels. So, other than just a couple of those niggles there, it's pretty much a car that I enjoy getting into every day, at least the short times that I do get a chance to drive it. And I learned a lot about this car when I drove it cross country, because the fact that I don't have to put any gas in it every day is a really cool factor. And I know Tesla is learning from their mistakes. I mean, they've been building these things like crazy. They sold a little over almost 150,000 of these cars in all of 2018, which was really shocking considering they moved only 2,000 of these in 2017. So Tesla's really making some big improvements, but they still have a lot to learn. But I really would like to see the company, eventually succeed, be profitable. I know they're always under scrutiny in the media. People either love or they hate the brand. I try my best to stay neutral, even though I own this car. It hasn't been perfect, but at the same time, it has also constantly surprised me and, put a smile on my face, which is difficult to do nowadays with all the cars that I'm constantly driving for my job and, showing you guys all these different reviews. So it's a car that will constantly impress you, even if you guys aren't car people in general. So after spending most of this video discussing all the issues that I've had with the Model 3 over the last 4 months, a lot of you are probably quick to assume that I hate the car. However, that couldn't be farther from the truth. A lot of the issues that I discussed was kind of out of Tesla's control. From the accident to having a lot of the parts that had to be replaced, to the wheels not fitting properly, to the mess up with the body shop destroying the paint. I will say that the Tesla Service Center, at least in my local area here in Tyson's Corner, does deserve a shout out on my part, because they do a really good job with kind of fixing issues and addressing them. It just kind of takes a little bit longer than you'd expect a lot of other brands, because as Tesla has been ramping up production, they've been seeing more and more clients come into their showroom. So they're kind of a little overwhelmed with the amount of people that's kind of bringing in their cars for little issues here and there. It's almost like Tesla saying, we need to hurry up and deliver cars, so we're going to kind of send them out of the factory door with a small issues here and there, and we're going to fix them whenever people start complaining of them, which is, again, an issue. I'm not giving them a free pass for that. But for those of you who want your car to be absolutely perfect from the factory showroom floor, you're not going to want to purchase a Tesla. This is a car brand that is new, obviously, in the marketplace. They're still learning a lot from building, mass-producing cars for the masses. And with Tesla moving almost 150,000 of these vehicles in all of 2018, you're going to be seeing a lot more Model 3s on the road. Honestly, since I've taken delivery of it, before, where my car was kind of the only Tesla in the DC area, I basically see one of these vehicles on the road every day, if not several times a day. So there's a reason why people are purchasing these cars. And again, they are not perfect. I have thoroughly enjoyed my ownership of this car over the last 4 months. So in the future, or in the coming weeks or months or years, you're gonna see more videos of the Model 3. I do still have some more plans for the car. I wanna eventually take it to the track, try the track mode that's new for this latest update. I wanna do a drag race with this car when I finally get access to a track with the long-term Porsche 718 Cayman GTS to see which one of these cars is actually fastest. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my pretty extensive overview of this car, what it's been like to have over the last 4 months. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.